Thank you, Jane. So, good evening, everybody. Uh, Today, my topic of my talk is investigation of nuclear reactions for the applications of advanced reactor ADSS facility and nuclear data management. Myself, Surjit Mukherjee. So, let me begin. Uh, so, I hope that everybody is safe at their home during this lockdown period, and I am very much thankful to our leader for giving this lockdown period well in advance, so we have not been in such a bad position shape nowadays. So I hope that we will definitely survive this crisis very soon. The present talk I have distributed in the following points: introduction, then followed by some details about the ADS and ITER systems. Then I will talk about the literature data and about the reactor and structural materials and the recent work in the field of neutron and proton induced reaction, and then the error analysis. So basically, my work is based on the neutron and proton charge particle activation technique, uh, which is giving special emphasis on the reactor materials, because as I will progress in my talk, I will tell you why it is so important. There are applications of energy sources, nuclear forensics, homeland security, imaging and diagnostics, radiation treatment, material science, and art and archaeology. So this nuclear reactor physics is a very demanding and increasing uh, has an increasing application in the field of green and safe energy. So at the present, we have the following bar chart shows the status of the energy demand, energy of the from the nuclear reactors. So this shows the number of reactors, and this shows the total electricity capacity. So there are total number of 451 reactors almost, according to this record, which is about a year old, uh, worldwide, with net production of 400 gigawatt energy. It also produces a large number of nuclear waste. So this problem is very demanding. Of course, as we say that it is almost contributing to 3% of the total energy demand. So rest depend on the conventional source of energy. So we have to still far away from our goal. And if I say about our country, then it is quite way behind as compared to China, France, USA, Russia, etc. So we have to be very. So the problem here with this reactor powers is that uh, there are a lot of reactor nuclear waste that is generated, which is very long lived, and the disposition of these reactor waste is a real problem. So what we have to do is to transmutation process, or what we call the nuclear incineration of radioactive waste, to convert these long-lived radioactive isotopes to short-lived or stable isotopes. So the neutron activation analysis, or the so-called neutron reaction induced reactions, they play a very big role in this. So we have transmutation reactions. The following, some of the reactions are the fission fragment, low limit fission fragments, which can be converted by neutron capture. By this is one of the example, and there are plutonium and minor actinides also produced, which can be also converted by the neutron induced reactions, that is neutron induced fission and neutron capture. So these are the some of the processes that is very important, and our work, this present research work, is based on such reactions, which can be taken care of for the nuclear waste. So the nuclear waste generated through about 1 ton of uranium. That this simple graphic representation shows how it is taken care. So production of such high amount of reactor waste is really a big problem, which needs to be tackled down by developing either fission or fusion based advanced reactor. So work is being carried out in order to develop this accelerator driven subcritical and international thermonuclear experimental reactors. So as you see here, we can have so many reactions, products, fission products, plutonium and minor actinides. These are all produced from these reactions. So the nuclear fuel cycle, as I see there, is three-prong process. First is the front end sector, the reactor sector, and the back end sector. So and it takes hundreds of years to reduce this radioactive dose from nuclear waste to come to a safe limit. So high energy accelerators can be used to convert these long-lived isotopes into stable or short-lived isotopes. So as you see here that the natural uranium, we can do chemistry, then we have enrichment process, and this enriched new uranium goes for the fuel fabrication. So this goes for the front end sector. Then we have the reactor sector where the reactors are operational and we produce the radioactive waste. And this back end sector consists of this radioactive or spent fuel waste reprocessing for the reprocessing, then ultimate waste disposition. So, so either it is recyclable or it can be given again for the refabrication. So this is the important factor in our studies, that how to deal with this. So this is the schematic diagram of the accelerator driven subcritical system for minor actinides transmutation. So as you all know that what is the ADS? ADS system is consisting of a superconducting LINAC, which gives you very high energy and high current proton beam, which is made to fall on a spallation target. And this target is specially made bismuth lead alloy, atomic alloy, and these will produce high energy neutrons as well as fission products. And then this can be used for in two ways. Either we can have we can transmute this long lived nuclear actinide, and then also it can be used for the it can be utilized for the chain reaction, and these are all produced in the subcritical type. ADS is a is a machine which is itself is a reactor which is giving you power at the subcritical stage. So that is why it is also sometimes called subcritical reactor. So and one more thing which is very important is that that these can be used for by using thorium. As you know that in the this world scenario of thorium reserve, what is our contribution is that in India we are almost uh, very at the top of the thorium reserves. So India is the second largest thorium reserve in the world, and thorium can be used in advanced reactor to generate uranium fuel for conventional reactors and to generate electricity. The advantage of using thorium is that it does not produce too much radioactive waste as compared to uranium, conventional uranium sources, which are being used at the present for the conventional reactors. So that is why this is the main focus of even global focus for this production of these ADS systems for the production of power, as well as for conversion of long-lived radioactive uh, minor actinides to the stable or short-lived actinides. So, and this is one another thing that it is very important is that this ITER system. This ITER system is a plan planned to be the first fusion experimental reactor in the world operating for research in physics and engineering. The first 10 years of operation will be devoted primarily to physics issues at low neutron fluence. So the conditions to sustain it's a fully operational ITER device is that very high temperature of the order of 1.5 to 10 to power 8 Celsius, sufficient plasma particle density to ensure collision occur, sufficient plasma confinement to increase the effective volume. So in this construction of this ITER machine, there are two main components, that is the toroidal field coil and the colloidal field coil. So these are point of our interest, of our research interest. So in what happens in this is that we use mostly the tin isotopes in the ITER for making these toroidal field coils, which are able to carry very high current and to produce strong magnetic field and plasma confinement. So tin has a wide range of applications in reactor technology, as in the form of Zircon 2 and Zircon 4 with 1.5% tin is the common used structural alloy in nuclear reactors. The precise, so therefore the precise data for the reactions induced by neutron and produced, which are produced in great amount in the reactors, is very important from the viewpoint of its nuclear applications like transmutation, shielding effect, radiation damage, long-term activation, etc. So another very important isotope is the 99 molybdenum, the most demanded medical isotopes in the world. Why it is so demanding? Because the decay product of 99 molybdenum and 99 technetium is used about two-thirds of all diagnostic medical isotope procedures. Between 95 to 98% of 99 molybdenum is currently being produced using high enriched uranium targets. Other medical isotopes, as given here, are the byproducts of this 99 molybdenum production and will be sufficiently available if 99 molybdenum is available. So these are the some of the routes by which we can produce this 99 molybdenum. Sorry. So as you see here, that it decays to 99 technetium, 19 so and 99 rubidium. So these are also very useful for the radiopharmaceutical and diagnostic and therapeutic procedures. And as you see here in the worldwide, this is the scenario for the production of these 99 molybdenum. Most of them are produced by these countries. So So with this brief introduction, the objective of our work is to select a few of the reactor materials, which are either fission reactor based fuel materials or fusion reactor based structural materials or other structural materials. So the thorium and uranium are the most important fuel materials, and the neutron induced reaction for these materials are very important for the design of advanced reactors. Similarly, the tin and niobium are the important materials for the and the study of neutron and produced reaction cross section data are very important for the study of damage to these materials. Similarly, for the structure materials that are used very widely in the reactors, and these some of them we have taken up for our study purpose. Now coming to the scenario for the past literature data, as you see that in this molybdenum reaction, we can see there are lot of data around this energy. But if you see, similarly in this case of natural molybdenum, we have data, appreciable number of data. But what is more important is that there is a discrepancies in this data in this energy range, and also there's wide range of uncertainty discrepancies in the different measured data as shown by these red arrows. So then there are so many other measurements that have been done in the past. For example, this is another measurement which is on the fuel material thorium, and this shows that there is a wide gap in this cross section data which needs to be measured once again. And similarly here we have at at higher energies beyond 20 MeV, there is a scarcity of data, although there are large number of measurements around these energies at the below 15 MeV. Still we need to have a lot of data to be measured. Similarly, for the tin isotopes that we have discussed, we have data only for around the 14 MeV energy, which is, and similarly for this reaction, we have data at around. So there is a lot of scope for the measurement of these neutron and proton activation technique by using the tin material, which is very important uh, fusion reactor material. So with this objective, we have taken these material for our study. And again, there is another material which is very important, structural material. Here we see again there is a lot of discrepancies between the earlier measurement data, measured data. Same is here, lot of gap between these data. So there must be some problem with this measured data. So there is a lot of scope for measuring again, once again. So so with this these data, there are another large number of data for other reactions too. So with this objective, we have planned our studies. And for in our study, what is very important is that we have to generate neutrons by some mechanism. And the most important and most well-known mechanism is to obtain proton accelerators, and then we do the reaction lithium proton induced reaction on 7 lithium, natural lithium. So we get the neutrons, and these neutrons, there are depending upon the threshold of the reaction, we can produce neutrons of different energy and different flux. So neutron generated by the this reaction, which is normally 7 lithium actually. So below 2.54 MeV, below 2.4 MeV, this reaction product produces monoenergetic neutrons. Above 2.4 MeV, which is this and this, the first excited state of 7 beryllium at 0.43 MeV is populated and produce a second group of neutrons, as shown here, by this one group, and this was the second group. Uh, and then above 6 MeV, the three body interactions and other reactions takes place. Other excited states are also contributing to the production of neutrons, as shown here. This is the 6 MeV. If the energy is above this threshold, then we have the three body interaction, and the neutrons are produced also, and these are also contributing to. So although there are lower energy subgroups of neutrons, the primary or the main group of neutrons can be used to measure the reaction cross section, as it has higher neutron flux and higher neutron energy, as shown by the main peak, that is the highest peak, as in this case. So we have two groups of neutrons. One is the due to from the main group, and the other one is the other groups. So we are using this flux as our for the measurement of cross section. Now the cross section can be measured by this activation relation, which is well known. But for this, we have to consider first this fraction, which is, if you see this graph, schematic diagram, you can see there are two regions. One is this region where we have the neutrons, and the other region is the background. So what we do is we measure the area under the curve from B to C. This one, area under from the B to C, and then divide by the area under the curve from A to C. And then this we get some fraction F. So our corrected flux is the total flux multiplied by this fraction. And this corrected flux can be utilized for the measurement of the cross section, reaction cross section. And again, the cross section calculated using this neutron flux is spectrum average neutron cross section from threshold to neutron maximum energy by subtraction of this cross section from the sigma r is the actual experimental cross section. So by this way, this factor is very important. And moreover, there is another tailing correction that we have to take into account, which consider this. So we have to get rid of this tail part also, so that we can take the corrected flux as given by this peak. So another way of simulation of this is to simulation of this neutron flux spectra, and this is done by our students of our group. What they do is they take this MCNP in collaboration with our collaborators at Czech Republic. Uh, Thanks to Professor Karel Kotowski. He is the main person who is helping us for doing this simulation. Our students are very much involved in this. So what we do is we have several input. There are 5 input files of MCNP divided into these cards. So cell card, surface card, surface description, source description, material, and tally specification. And this is the schematic geometry that we are using. So we have a proton source, then that is made to fall on the lithium target. This is the lithium target, and these protons form and they generate the neutrons, and these tantalums are used to restrict the neutrons in large number to fall on the on this our main target. And this diameter we have to select according to our requirement, as according to our actual experiment. And so these neutrons are produced, and these are operated, generated, and they are and we can study our reactions in this way. And by this method we have produced this neutron spectra. And if you see the our earlier measurement, you can see that these are taken from the export data, and this is done by our simulation method. So they are almost similar in structure. So we have 2 groups of neutrons, that is the main group and the group from produced from the excited states. And this uh, simulation has been published by one of my students, this one, in this paper about 3 years back. And so the method, our experimental methodology requires that we take the energy of the proton beam from starting from 1 MeV to 22 MeV with the current of this 200 to 400 nanoampere, and we use this reaction for the production of neutrons. And then our neutron energy we can calculate by taking care of this threshold. And this lithium foil is wrapped and kept in between proton beam and sample, and experimental samples are placed at 0-degree angle with respect to the incident neutron and proton beams. So now let me come to some of the results of our measurement. So this is, as we have discussed earlier, this 100 molybdenum. For this reaction we produce 99 molybdenum reaction cross section. As you see here, why it is important, because we produce this through this 99 molybdenum we can produce 99 technetium, and this 99 technetium is used about 80% of the imaging procedures like single photon emission, computed tomography, and about 90% of 99 molybdenum is produced in about 5 nuclear reactors around the globe from high enriched uranium, and 10% is produced from 98 molybdenum and gamma reaction. So, so these are very important isotopes to be studied. As we have studied at, you can see there are 4 energy where we have studied these reactions. These are our points, and these are the tallies measurements that I will come back after a few slides. And then there are these are the data for the from various archives data, and these are the measured data taken from the export database. So we can see that these data are very well in matching with the tallies default as well as tallies with modified uh, calculations. These are some of the other materials that we have studied. This is with the tungsten material for these reactions. And we can see that these are some of the measurements with different level densities of tallies that we have utilized. And you can see these measurements are quite reasonably in agreement with some of the uh, level densities of tallies. and similarly for this gadolinium measurements. And these are all have been measured and published in this, again, the same journal, this same paper. Now, let me come to the error analysis. This error analysis is very important factor in our measurement. So what we do is this in this covariance analysis, that we have to take into account several attributes that are contributing to this reaction cross sections. So in our case, we are taking four main attributes. As we see that in this efficiency measurement, we are considering these four attributes. The C stands for counts for different gamma lines that are uncorrelated, as they are measured separately. Therefore, this matrix is for counts will be an identity matrix. The gamma abundance for the gamma lines of europium 152 are characteristic property of each gamma line, and hence they are assigned as the uncorrelated. Since each gamma line will be following same half-life during the decay, therefore they are correlated. The SIGR matrix in such case would be square matrix having all elements as one. The initial activity N0 will be common for each gamma ray, therefore they are correlated quantities. So we take into account these four quantities, and these are being used in this formula, which is named as sandwich formula. So with this basic mechanism, we are doing our covariance analysis, and and then uh, the following assumptions have been made to find the correlation among different quantities. Counts for both samples and the monitor reactions at 4 neutron energies were taken as uncorrelated. Parameters related to spectroscopic data for both the reactions were taken as correlated, as they are common in all the four measurements. Since the yield of zirconium monitor reactions has been taken for 14 MeV neutrons and is kept as this from this taken from this literature, and the monitor reaction cross section were taken as independent for each measurement, therefore assigned as uncorrelated. And these are the some of the metrics that we have used. And finally, for a example, this we have taken these results from for this reaction, and which shows this is the final covariance analysis results or the error in the four measurements of this energy at these neutron energies. So as you see that as the energy increases, our error also sometimes the maximum error is in the lowest energy. So, and this TALIS calculations, there are large number of nuclear model calculations that can be used. In our cases, we have used TALIS 1.9 Ampere and ALICE. And for the TALIS measurements, which have been extensively used in our calculations, we have taken this level density parameter. And this in this parameter, level density parameter, we have three quantities, alpha, beta, and gamma. The gamma is the damping parameter, can be given as this. And these values for the default, these are the values that have been used. And for other parameters, we select according to our requirement. So the possible outcome for this reaction is that the demand of accurately measured data can be fulfilled by performing series of experiments with different enriched or natural isotope. The produced data would be helpful to encourage medical isotope production at lower scale or day-to-day use within the medical facility or in transit radius of few hundred kilometers. The nuclear model codes can be upgraded based on the update of their input parameter libraries. The produced results will be helpful to generate more evaluated data. So these data that we are producing through our work can be very useful for the nuclear data database, and to give more confidence over different nuclear model codes to generate and use the theoretical data in future. These kind of studies will be helpful to make new cheaper production routes for the medical isotopes. Now we come to the second part of my talk, that is proton induced reaction. These are also very important from the viewpoint that lot of protons are produced during the operation of these reactors. So we are again taking the same route of activation measurement for some of the very important reactor materials. Proton beams of 22 MeV have been taken, and this is the schematic diagram which showing you one of the reactor materials, niobium foils, uh, taken with aluminum degraders for the energy, and the proton beams of required energy is made to fall on this, and we measure the current by using a current integrator. So the these we have done a lot of measurements of taking various reactor uh, materials. One of the material is the niobium. The excitation function of niobium reactions were experimentally determined using stack foil activation technique at 5 proton energies. These are the proton energies, and 3 residues of 93 niobium have been produced. This 93 molybdenum, 92 niobium, and 89 zirconium were found to populate. And these all are very useful in the isotopes. And we have also studied some basic theory about the pre-equilibrium contribution in these reactions. So these are our results, uh, along with the TALIS default parameter, as well as pre-equilibrium and compound nucleus, TALIS with simple compound nucleus. Then there are previous results, and these are the previous data. So we have 5 proton energies, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it is quite quite in agreement with the previous data, as well as the pre present calculations. Similarly is in the case, and here we can see that there is a lot of pre-equilibrium contribution coming from this, as taken from this calculation, that TALIS pre-equilibrium plus compound nucleus. So we can see that it's a lot of pre-equilibrium measurements contributions are there in this region. So this has been published in Nuclear Physics recently. Similarly, another material which is very useful is the silver isotope, and the reactions again have been measured at 5 energies, and 2 residues have been found to populate from this reaction. And then we have studied this equilibrium contribution, and these are the 5 energies, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 energies in this energy region. And we have the again we have a TALIS calculation as well as ALICE calculation here, as well as in this reaction. As you see, there's a this results are quite in agreement with our calculations. The comparative study also is planned between proton and neutron induced reactions. So we are in process to do the same study by the neutron induced reaction on this material. So this has been published again in this paper. Again, we have this molybdenum, as we have studied with the neutron. Here also we have studied this. In addition to this, we have also measured the proton induced channel for the direct production of 99 technetium. And this direct production of 99 allows us to use the isotope for within the short duration. The result of the present have been presented earlier, and has been process of writing a paper. So here we see that our measurements are these red dots. And one more isotope, that is titanium, has been recently published in Nuclear Physics. The here we see again the 5 energy. We have studied this reaction, proton induced reaction, and we see that these are the measurements, and the TALIS calculations are also shown here. So these are our some of the ongoing work that we are analyzing the data regarding the proton and neutron induced reactions for these isotopes. The detailed analysis for the error propagation has been planned for each case under investigation. Another experiment. So now we are in a position to go to a higher level. So we are planning some experiment with fast neutron energies around 35 MeV, using the Center for Accelerators and Nuclear Analytic Methods in Czech Republic, in collaboration with our collaborator there in Professor Karel, and the entries will be made in this database, export database, for all the recently measured data during the meeting proposed. So we have this meeting to be proposed at our university. So final remark is that there are massive developments for the production of nuclear medicine and reactor isotopes for the betterment of present technology. Therefore, more experimental studies should be carried out in this way. And some of our publications are shown here, recent publications. This is our students. This is my students uh, who have published these papers in the last 2 years. And that's all. Thank you, folks, for your patience.